Hello and welcome to another episode of the Christian Reeve podcast. Now, by the time this is out, I will have reached over 300 episodes, which is fucking batshit crazy. It's been an incredible 5 years, and trying to really get things back on track with the podcast and really get things going, moving in a quick, swift motion. I'm going to be interviewing a hell of a lot more people throughout the year and trying to get just the numbers flowing and the conversations going. And today's guest is a content creator and a musician who, like myself, has been going for a very, very long time. His name is Matt Briglia, but he goes by Mattlexic on social media. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Trishan. I'm doing awesome. How is everything going with you?
Oh, how long you got? It's I don't know. Life is in a crazy position right now, and it's interesting actually. When I was looking back into your life and your journey, there are some parallels here. Like I walked away from everything I did um, years ago, and I deeply regretted it. And I feel like you always end up going back to what you love anyway. Like if you really truly love it, you will end up back to it. And I know there are other reasons for yourself as to why that was the case, but um, that's the reality of what we do. It's something that you love. It's something that you're passionate about. I think a lot of the time, as the years pass and the days pass, you kind of realize the way that you thought about things previously might be like you might need to approach things differently this time around. Um, so let's start with that for a second. So you took a break from content creation. Why did you take a break?
Well, mainly just because life got in the way. I've got a regular 9 to 5 job. I want to spend some time with my family as well. Really, just general life issues. So I haven't really had time to focus on any content creation. But I've also been more focused on my music outside of my personal and family life. Content creation's kind of like slipped away from my passions a little bit. I've always been more of a music person. I remember sometime during yeah, it was during my adolescence I took piano lessons. Those didn't last very long, but eventually over the years I've started to gain more of a passion for music.
What kind of music do you want to do? Or what were you looking to achieve with it?
Well, I've been making electronic music since I think mid to late 2020, and I actually started distributing it in the summer of 2021. And I've made quite a, and I'm still making some tracks, but like I said, I haven't really had time to do much. I've lost count of exactly how many tracks I've made, but I've made quite a few over the years.
It's something that's kind of been in the works for some time, and now you're kind of looking at it and going, you know what? Now maybe is the time to start releasing it to the world. Would that be fair to say?
I'm sorry.
So it's something that you've been working on for quite some time, and now you're maybe looking at it like now's the time to release it to the world, maybe build a following, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Why was your passion for content creating starting to wane? What was the issue there?
I don't know if it's a mix of some mental issues and just life, or maybe over the years I just grew out of that passion. But I'm still really into making music.
Well, it's just interesting because, like, when I looked at your social medias and I looked at YouTube and everything, kind of seems like you're still doing a lot of content creation, but there's no kind of hint of music yet, which to me suggested that you're working on maybe building it and like you're going to present it at the right time, something like that. Um, and then a lot of the content is just kind of like updates of where you're at and what's going on in your life, kind of thing. Do you have like a clear plan mapped out?
I mean, in terms of music, I am working on something right now. I don't know what the theme's going to be just yet. but I am planning on making another either extended play or complete album. Maybe I'll. I remember at one point last year I did make a full album rather than just another extended play. I want to do something like that again. Maybe add a few more tracks instead of instead of just the typical extended play or even a short album. I want to make something a bit longer at some point soon, but I got to find the time for that.
Okay. Did you release that album in the end to the public? Is it available?
The album last year, oh yeah, that's been out. That's been out since I think that one album. It has 10 tracks. I released it
Mhm.
in June last year.
And what's been the response to it? How did it go down? Was it, did it work for you? Was there any major lessons that you learned from it?
I think it's definitely a lot better than some of my previous tracks. I know some of the first tracks I made really weren't all that good. Like they weren't the worst, but they definitely needed some improvements.
Hmm.
But compared to those, I definitely think I think that album from last year, as well as some of the recent extended plays and singles, the ones recently are definitely a lot better than some of my earlier work.
So what are you going to do differently this time?
This time I was in community college for like a semester. One of the classes I had was sound production.
Hmm.
And one of the things we learned about is equalization, which I guess in simple terms is like you don't want too much snare in your kick and vice versa. You don't want too much bass in your hi hat and vice versa. Stuff like that. So you filter out some of that, some of that sound. Some of my earlier tracks, like it sounded like the equalization was horrible. Like it really didn't sound all that good. But now I have the skills to be able to add some of that stuff, some of those filters to my new work, as well as also I've started to learn a little bit more music theory. So uh,
Okay, so you feel a bit more equipped to maybe produce this new album, got a better understanding of music, better understanding of the tools that you're using, and so on and so forth. That would be correct to say.
yeah,
Okay, let's talk about the production side of things. Sorry, promotion side of things. How are you going to go about that? Because obviously these days it's very difficult marketing yourself as an unsigned artist. Take it from me. I've got an album coming out on March 28th. Got 4 singles out now, 3 music videos, and it's like pulling teeth, man. So like, what are you gonna do? What's your plan for that?
I want to market some. I want to market my music on maybe some platforms like TikTok, Instagram, some also YouTube.
Hmm.
Yeah, I got a plan for music promotion.
Is it a paid plan or is it going to be just purely organic?
I'm sorry.
Is it going to be a paid plan or is it purely organic?
I guess it'll be purely organic. I guess I'm not sure what you mean by that though.
Well, simple. So with paid advertising, it would be like, you pay to have ads which feature your music and they'll get shown in front of a bunch of people. Whereas organic advertising would be just you posting on social media for free about your music.
Yeah, I guess for now it'll be organic. I might get into paid advertising at some point. I just don't know when that is.
Mhm. What are you hoping to achieve with your music?
You asked what I hope to achieve.
Yeah, what do you want?
One of my main goals with my music, I'm hoping to get it in maybe a video game or some web series to be included in the soundtrack.
Hmm.
I already produced some of the soundtrack for it was like a kid's sci-fi cartoon on YouTube. There was only one episode that was ever made of it because the guy had some other stuff going on as well, so he needed to take a break from that. But that's one of the few. outside. That's one of the few pieces of outside media that my music's been included in.
How did you get that?
I went online and I found like a casting list, like a listing for it, and I applied, and he and then he asked me to compose some stuff for the show.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add about your music before we move on?
Mm, not right now.
Help me here, dude. I'm really trying.
I'm thinking, bro.
Do you want to be here or not?
Yes, I do, bro. I do want to be
Okay,
here, but those
let me talk. Let
the
me talk for a
wrinkles
second.
aren't wrinkling in my head right now.
Here's the thing. I've been doing this a long time. I know when someone wants to have a conversation and when someone doesn't want to have a conversation. I've sat down, I've researched you. I can get a pretty good picture of you. Again, I'm not an expert. I don't know you personally, but I'm just going to throw this out there. I feel like you've lost some of your passion. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay. Now, I completely understand that feeling. Believe me, I've been pursuing the things I've been pursuing for the last 6 years. This is my second time trying with music. That's why my album is called Second Chances, like second chance at this. I know how frustrating it is. I know what it's like to have a full time job or work that takes over your life to the point where you can't do the things that you love. I get it. But here's the thing. Now, I'm not saying that my podcast is like fucking Joe Rogan or something, but it's an opportunity. Every instance is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to be like, hey, here's why you should care about me. Here's why you should care about my music. Here's why you should give half a shit about the things that I do. If the tone in your voice doesn't say, hey, I'm here, like, here's what I do, then people aren't going to be interested. They'll just hear the negativity and the lack of passion, and that's all they'll remember about you, if they remember you at all. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you, man.
All right. So let's fucking talk about you and show people why they should give a shit about you. Yeah?
Yeah, man.
All right, cool. So you recently reached 5 years on YouTube and you spoke about how your work life balance is sort of affecting your content production ability and stuff like that. So let's start with your work first. So if you don't mind saying, what do you do for a living?
Um, you're talking about just my general work life, the nine to
Yeah.
five thing.
Yeah, yeah. What do you do to survive, man?
I'm trying to find the best way to describe this without exactly giving away what I do or where I work.
Oh,
Um,
well, I wouldn't want you to dox yourself. I get that. Uh, is it retail?
something like that.
Okay. All right. Right. It's a customer facing position. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know this all too well. I've worked every job you can imagine in retail, hospitality, all sorts of shit. Also worked offices, marketing, all that. So point I'm trying to make is I understand how how much time it can take, how the hours can be unsociable, how difficult it can be, how it can make you feel. In those last 5 years, what's been the main thing that's kind of affected your content production?
And when I was first starting out on YouTube, it was during the quarantine because of COVID, so
Mm-hmm.
I had more time to make content and stuff. But then I got back into school full time, and so I didn't exactly have enough time to make content or music or much music or anything. And then eventually I graduated high school and college came around. I had a little bit more time, but still not a lot. So then, but then college didn't really work out. So I just ended up getting a job,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's been taking up most of my time recently.
What? How come college didn't work out? What was the issue there?
No, it just wasn't really for me. Mainly, I don't really want to subject myself to. If I end up making friends there, I don't want to I don't want to be subjected to any kind of peer pressure, anything like that. Because I know how, from what I, 'cause I know how college can be with stuff like that. I just don't want to give in to any of that.
Okay. Would you say
Like,
you're quite an introverted person then, in
yeah.
general? Do you have like a few close friends, or is it just me, myself, and I kind of thing?
Now I've got one homie I've known since middle school, but that's been about it after high school.
Okay. Would you say you struggle making friends, or
Yeah, that's always been an issue with me. I'm not a very social person, ironically. So yeah, I've only been able to. And so that one homie's
yeah?
been one of my only friends for years.
What would you say is the barrier? Do you think it's just do you get nervous? Is it you just don't know what to say? What's holding you back?
Sometimes it's a little bit of nervousness, but most of the time it's just because I don't really know what to say. I was
Hmm.
never really taught how to communicate like that because I was encapsulated. I was in those encapsulated classrooms my whole childhood.
What do you mean by that exactly?
It's like
Encapsulate.
it's a term for a special education classroom. I was in those for pretty much most of my childhood,
Oh,
so
okay.
I never really had the chance to learn how to communicate correctly.
Do you know it's a fair point actually. I think sometimes people underappreciate the power of being sociable. For me, it was something I was quite. I've never really been shy, so I was able to just talk to people. But I sort of sit in the middle between introvert and extrovert. And what I've noticed over the years is there's like little tools that you can learn that help things considerably, but it kind of depends on you personally. So, for example, a key way to get a conversation going is ask questions because people love to talk about themselves. Right? People love to talk, or they'll like to talk about if you get something that someone's passionate about. Oh, there you go, you're off to the races. But it's about tapping into that, and I'd say like probably 70 or 80% of people are like that for the most part. As long as you either get them talking about themselves or get them talking about what they're passionate about or let them vent, rant, something like that. Great. And then there's this other 20%. And you don't fall into this, by the way. I'm just saying this is just, yeah. But people listening will know what I mean. There's these people that are like completely impossible to talk to. Where, I've had people on the show like this before where you'll ask them a question and it'll just be like one word answers or just nothing. And you're like, just come on, man, fucking give me something. How are you getting by in this world with saying no more than one word, you know? And I think when I've heard the pushback to that, a lot of the time it's like, well, I'm just not a sociable person. And it's like, well, that's fine. No one expects you to be fucking Ernest Hemingway with all your words and stuff, right? I think the expectation is more like showing an interest. Do you know what I mean? Like being kind of motivated to have a conversation with someone.
Yeah,
That's the key. Like I've always said since day one, anyone who ever wants to be on the show, it's always this. As long as you're here and you want to have a conversation, it'll be fine. Because people always think like, oh, I have to know a lot about this or I have to have loads of stuff prepared. And it's like, no, you just answer questions and you have a back and forth and you show interest, just like in a normal conversation, you know? Like
yeah,
whenever I'm out and about and I'm having chats with people, if I can sense they're not interested, guess what? I'm not going to talk to them. I'll just fuck off. I'll go elsewhere. You know what I mean? That's yeah. Um. Okay. So you have your struggles where that's concerned, but that's not a problem. You're introverted. You got a buddy. There's always abilities to make friends in the future. I think, to be honest with you, I think it's something that it's a skill that's worked on throughout life. Like with me doing this podcast, it's made me a better conversationist. It's made me a better listener as well, which is really, really key. Um, with your content production, it's been 5 years. Is there anything that you're looking to do in the future besides music? Like, is there anything, or is it all going to be about the music? Like, what's the 5 year plan, I guess?
Yeah, I've been a little bit into acting over the years as well. I haven't done very much of it. I was in, believe it or not, I was in an episode of a show with. Do you know who Badlands Chugs is?
No.
Uh, yeah, he also goes by Badlands Booker. He's been a competitive eater since the '90s, but he's been popular on YouTube since the 2010s. He's just known for chugging all kinds of drinks,
Oh,
and he
man.
became famous for that. And he was on this TV show that takes place in a restaurant, and I was an extra who played being a fan of his, and I happened to meet him at that restaurant.
Don't you find those experiences so weird as well? Like you were paid to be an extra, like paid to be a fan of his. I always just think like, why don't you just get a regular fan?
I
I
mean,
don't get that. I
well,
mean, I
it's a
don't,
TV show. Well,
no, I know, but it's just so weird. Like they do the same here in England with various productions, and it's like they'll tell you literally, like, right, get excited, they're here, and you're like, okay. Well, like, a better example, right? I've had to do scenes before where it's like a disco, right? But because they need clear audio, they get you to do it in silence. So you have to dance in front of a fuck ton of cameras and people watching you in total silence. It's just like really uncomfortable vibe in there.
yeah, but in acting, that sounds like something you're gonna have to get used to.
Sure, but I don't know. I think in acting you need like aids. You need things that can assist you. Do you know what I mean? So like if it's a dancing scene and you hear a bit of music, it really helps you with the performance. You know, you can get in the character. If there's nothing, it's hard. I mean, like for instance, one thing that we do on set a lot of the time is if it's a scene where you're only shooting one person, but they're responding to the other character. Sometimes that other character will be off screen and acting, and you're like acting towards them to elicit that performance, and it really, really helps with it. It like helps you to focus your attention, focus your emotions, and everything, and really get in character. You know, whereas if you're just staring just past the camera and essentially doing a monologue, like it makes it a bit harder. Is what I'm saying. But
Yeah,
took us through more of that experience. I mean, what was that like for you? Did you learn anything? Any big takeaways from that experience?
I mean, it was a fun experience. I met some. I mean, some of the cast were pretty nice people. Crap, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think here real fast. I don't just want to give one word answers, but
Do you know? Do you know? I'll say this, man. Um, I've had worse, but I mean that in a good way. Like, you're trying. Like, I can tell you care and you're trying. Do you know what I mean? And that's all I ask for. You know, I'm not asking for loads. I think it's. Is this your first podcast? You ever done a podcast before?
oh yeah, I've done podcasts before.
What would you normally talk about?
Yeah, I would normally talk about my content creation.
Hmm.
I don't recall if I ever mentioned anything to do with my music. I know I definitely never talked about acting
Okay.
before I graduated high school, but I think I would talk about content creation and possibly my music during those podcasts. But
And
I have
it
also
was a solo podcast as well, just you.
I've done one solo podcast before, and I have one now, but I haven't really been, again, all too focused on that.
Hmm.
I'm thinking about getting back into it, but again, life. So
What is the thing getting away? Is it just too many hours? Is that what it is?
yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
Well, what else is it?
And also my family, because I want to spend some time with them as well. On top of work, then there's my family. I got a text from my sister, I think, like a couple days ago. Um, she was asking if I wanted to go over and spend some time. So yeah, I'm it's family and work, so I haven't had time to pursue some of that stuff. But I want to get back into it sometime soon.
So family is important to you.
Yeah,
Well, let's explore that a bit. Why is it so important to you?
it's nice to have people you care about and people who care about you around you. Provides a nice support circle, and you have people in your life. I'm trying to think about how to word this correctly. Um, it's nice to have people around you who care about you and who you can care about.
Are they supportive of what you do? Do they sort of try and
Yeah,
push you to do it?
I
Yeah.
would say most of them are. Yeah,
Hmm. What's your long term goal with all this? What are you hoping to achieve?
I mean, I'm hoping one day I can make a decent career out of my music, but I guess like despite work and family, I'm not completely turning away from it. But I do gotta make time for both of those the most. That's what's most important. But I am still trying to focus on my music and content creation when I can.
Why should people care about you?
I'm sorry.
Why should people care about you?
I mean, because over the years I've like yeah, before when I was first starting out, like it wasn't all that great. Like it wasn't terrible, but it still wasn't good. But over the years I've learned on how to improve on myself, my content. I'm trying to make better stuff. And even still I'm still trying to get better at some of this stuff. I don't know everything. I'm never going to know everything, but I I want to know more. I want to learn more every day.
I mean, this is positive. I mean, this is stuff you could use. Like when I looked at your YouTube channel, it was interesting because you've got a sizable following. I think it's about 1,400, if I'm correct, 1,400, something like that. Over
Around
5 years,
that. Around that.
yeah,
Yeah.
over 5 years, it's good. It's hard to get your first 1,000. Took me way longer, 10 years, maybe even more. Um, and I tried all sorts of things, so I can relate. And obviously, life getting in the way, understand that all too well. But I mean, I think it's one of those things. If you want it, you'll do anything to get it. You'll keep pushing, and eventually you'll break through. And you built an audience, you built a following, and like I said before, like I know things get in the way. I mean, I've said that about this podcast. Like I had to slow down how many I was doing, and then now I'm trying to like pick those numbers back up and stuff. And it's hard because you don't want to just kind of do things for the sake of it. You want everything to mean something, I would think. Um, I've
Yeah,
always
you want
gone.
that effort to mean something at the end of the day. You want to feel I guess not exactly proud. I'm proud that might be I don't know if proud's the right word, but you definitely want to be happy with all the effort you put into that project
Why not
at the end of
pride?
the day.
Pride in what you do. Why not?
I'm sorry?
Well, why not pride? Like, why is that not important?
Right. I just don't want to be exactly full of myself or get an ego or anything. Like, yeah, I want to be happy with the effort I put into something. I want to actually tell myself, wow, you actually worked hard at this and you made something fairly decent that most people would like to see. But
I mean, that is.
I don't want to be too proud of myself and thinking that this is going to be the perfect video or the perfect album track, etc. I don't want to make myself think that this is going to be perfect, but I do want to be happy with myself that I put in effort to make something good.
I mean, I would argue that a lot of that is to do with pride, but I think there's a misconception about what pride really means. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, you don't want to be egotistical, you want to be humble. I get that. But taking pride in what you do has nothing to do with being egotistical, man. I mean, there's, let me put it this way. I've worked on a lot of film sets. I've been around a lot of musicians, filmmakers, people in the entertainment industry. Most people are pretty humble, down to earth. It's a job. We all love it. We all come together. We make something beautiful. We move on to the next thing. It's very much like that. It's like being a kid again as far as the creativity is concerned, but you're professional with how you do it and you're passionate about it, right? Then
Yeah,
you get these people sometimes. Now this is what ego is. Right? When you've been on film sets or around musicians or anything, I'm sure you've seen this. Maybe you've even seen this in your line of work. You get that one person that will walk through like they own the fucking place, and their attitude is off, and their attitude essentially says, "I'm better than you. You're beneath me. My worth as a human being is worth 20 of you."
that's what happened to a guy at work. He ended up getting demoted because of that.
Let's talk about that. Why?
And he acted very, I mean, from what I heard, one of my coworkers described it as authoritarian
Yep.
when he was on one of the higher positions. I don't know if it's exactly a position of management or if it's still typical, but he ended up, because of how he was acting in that position, he ended up getting demoted, and now he's on a slightly lower position, and I think he's retraining for the higher position.
What's his attitude like now?
It's probably still a tiny bit of the same, but I've noticed he is more respectful and a bit less authoritarian.
I I do believe people can change, but I think in this instance, what you're going to see is you'll get that manager's position, and once it's locked in, he's going to be the biggest arsehole you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, that seems about right.
I've seen it before, man. You give people a little bit of power, and it goes to their head. Like, it's funny. I was at work today, and I bumped into this guy that I do a lot of agency work with. So we've been at so many venues together. It's crazy. It's always like, "Hey, how's it going? You're right, fucker." It's like that. Anyway, we're chatting. He's like, "Oh, why don't you go for management positions, more money?" And I was like, "Dude, are you for real?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "All right, well, let's list it off. One, you know what I do, like what my career is, what I'm trying to do with my life, which for those who don't know, I'm trying to pursue all things creative, music, acting, podcasting, content creation, etc. That's the dream, that's the goal, that's the career. So things like hospitality, whatever, it's to pay the bills. You come in there, you do the job, you work hard, and you go home. That's it. But what I've realized is, yeah, I have the experience. I've been a manager before. I've like led people. I don't want a part of that because it's not worth it, monetarily speaking. Because often you only get like a pound or a dollar more for like way more responsibility and way more pressure. Secondly, it sucks, and the managers will always tell you that. Thirdly, all the people beneath you hate you. You might make some friends, you might have people that like you, but the classic thing is, oh, you're the manager, oh, they're the manager. You know, that trope does exist. And yes, you can be a good manager, but ultimately you're still the manager.
Yeah,
And
there are people in management I like, but there are
mm,
also some people in management I don't like. There's always going to be there's always going to be good and bad in everything.
100%. But like, have you ever seen the show How I Met Your Mother?
I've heard about it, but I don't know exactly. I mean, I guess I can kind of gather what it's about from the title, maybe.
Yeah. So really, really good show. I highly recommend it. There's a season where the main character Ted trains up and he becomes a manager, and he's getting upset with like the reactions that people have to him because previously it was like he was part of the jokes. When he comes sit down in the lunchroom, everyone's like, "Hey, it's Ted. How you doing?" Da, 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 right? But when he becomes the manager, all of that changes. People are lovely, but people are kissing his ass. When he sits down at the table, they either go quiet or they leave. All these little things change. And another manager says to him, well, this is the price of management. This is what it is. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to make is that even if you do like a manager, there's always that like level of like, I do have to watch myself a little bit here, you know?
Yeah, because pretty much most managers do not mess around with stuff like that. I would say
Yeah.
most managers, they do care about their job. Like some of them in a good way, others they might be a bit more authoritarian. But managers, they seem like they care about their job and they want what's best for the store and all that. And then the employees as well. They want what's best for everyone there.
And most people in like stores are essentially middle management. And I think that it's the worst position to be in at all because you're responsible for all these people underneath you, many of whom either won't like you by definition because you're a manager, or they won't like you because you're telling them what to do. I've seen this a lot. I'm like, well, that's what a manager does. But you get people like that. You get basically you got to try and like adjust yourself to everyone, and everyone is totally different, which means your managerial style can either be one or two things. Either you adjust yourself and you try to be about the people and try to make it work, or you're more like that guy and you're authoritarian. You come in there with your balls on the table and you just try to treat everyone like bullshit. And some people will go along with it. Other people will uprise and you'll have arguments and disputes and all that. And it is what it is. But you often do see issues where managers like that will eventually get their comeuppance, but normally it doesn't happen in quite the manner that you suggested, which is brilliant. Like I wish that happened more often because it feels like a lot of the time what happens is that manager will stay doing what they're doing and the people underneath them will leave and you'll get a high turnover rate and all the higher management will be like, what's going on here? Why do we have such a high turnover rate? I don't understand. And they'll point fingers and the manager will be like, well, I don't know. I guess they just couldn't hack it. And it takes a long time for it to be revealed. Oh, no, actually, it's this manager's fault that everyone's leaving. So we'll just sack them. But again, it's getting to that point, that realization point. And it's just refreshing to hear, like in the instance that you relayed there, that sometimes the good guys win. Sometimes things do get sorted out. And it's nice to see that because I think a lot of stuff in workplaces gets overlooked. Certainly, what I've noticed over the years is there's a few rules. I'll lay out a few rules. You tell me if you disagree with me. Never talk to HR, no matter what. Never talk to HR because
I
they are.
have I have once, but I don't really go to HR over every single thing.
What was the reason you went to HR?
It was some small dispute with a coworker.
And
That was about it.
did it fix the issue?
Yeah.
So how did they go about fixing it?
Ba- Essentially, the person you complain about, they have a talk with them. The
Yeah.
management has a talk with them to talk about their behavior and make sure they improve on it so it doesn't happen again.
See, the big risk there is how that person's going to react to that.
But
Because
yeah, we
like
have retaliation policies. We have anti-retaliation policies.
anti-retaliation, what's that?
Essentially, if you complain against a coworker or someone on management, maybe a supervisor, There are policies that essentially protect those employees from retaliation. Like someone could like that employee or whoever that retaliates, they could face serious penalties for retaliating against someone who complains about them.
How could you even begin to like police that? That's ridiculous.
I mean, it may not be. I mean, it may not work 100%, but it might do something.
I'll give you
At
an
least it's better
example.
than nothing. At least.
Sure, but like there's different ways that people can do that. Like, yeah, sure. If someone like comes up to you and like smacks you in the face or starts motherfucking you every time they see you, then yeah, you can easily deal with that. I'll give you an example of something which is like passive aggressive, but caused enough of an issue for me. So I'm working in a supermarket. Um, there's this guy working with us. He was a new recruit, but he used to be our security guard. And this is interesting because when he was the security guard, he was he had like a level of superiority. Nothing like he wasn't lording it over everyone, but it was like his boss was never there, so he was like head of security there, and then he would only really report to or liaise with the store manager, and he seemed comfortable with that. Like he seemed comfortable with if he did take any orders from anyone, that being the guy. Everyone else he's overseeing. For whatever reason, he chose to join us. So he's no longer the security man. So he's no longer got that power. Now he has to, respond to different bosses. He's now a grunt like the rest of us, right? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but like he doesn't have that authority anymore. Now he's a very proud man, proud African man, and I learned this about African culture is that in some countries in Africa, they're very the whole age thing is a big thing there. So if you're an older gentleman, for example, and you've got a younger person trying to tell you what to do, that's not taken very well. And I saw this a few times in this particular instance. So this guy basically he was working with us, and our assistant manager was about I want to say like 24, 25 years old. This guy is maybe mid 40s, family man, all of that, proud man, and good worker, good hard worker. Took like a duck to water with the job and everything. Just needed, I suppose, some guidance as far as like prioritization of tasks. Little things like that. But he was solid. So for whatever reason, the assistant manager told me to tell him to do something different, and I was like, okay. So I did, and he was like, oh yeah, 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 but in a kind of like, yeah, 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 whatever kind of way, and then carried on what he was doing. And I was like, well, I can see that he's not doing what he's supposed to do, but I'm not a snitch. I don't care. I was just told to relieve a message, so whatever. So I just carry on with what I'm doing. The assistant manager sees all of this, pulls me aside, and goes, "Why is he not doing this?" And I was like, "I don't know. You go ask him. Like you're the manager. Why am I having to do this? Well, I'm not. What am I, a fucking courier? Like, it was annoying. Anyway, he does that. He goes up to him, tells him, "You're supposed to be doing this." Da, 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 da. Now, this is the beginning where the problem starts. So apparently, in that interaction, this pissed this guy off because he thought I had snitched to this manager about him not doing what he's supposed to be doing. That's what he thought. So for the next month, maybe two, every time we'd walk past each other, he would. It's hard to explain. Like either give me like evil looks or just deliberately make my life difficult, like not moving a cage out of the way, something like that. The big kind of like straw that broke the camel's back was we had these lifts, and one was very old, it's like 100 years old, and they were both shit. And one of the like etiquette things is that if someone's coming the same direction and they're going up and you're coming out, you leave the lift door open for them, obviously. And he just didn't. He slammed it shut and walked out. And I was like, all right, fuck this. And the, I think I said to him, I might have said to, because I tend to like be like, hey, what's the problem? And he was like, oh, no problem or something. And like that's the thing, like I don't like to go to HR because I think it's pointless. But I think there are some instances where like you have to in order to kind of bring a conflict to a resolution. But I don't like the way that it plays out. And the way that this played out was so fucking childish. Like instead of us just working it out like on the shop floor and just be like, hey, what's the problem? Oh, it was this. Oh, misunderstanding. Shake hands, walk away. No, I had to tell the management, which meant that we had to all sit in a room together, four of us. So there was like an intermediary manager, there's my assistant manager, and then there's me and this guy. And he's like pissing and moaning because he thinks I snitched on him. And then I explained everything I just explained to you. And his eyes went like, oh, and like, oh, I've made a grave error or whatever, right? And then we're like told to shake hands like it's high school, like, like like, I don't have an issue with this guy. I don't seek drama or conflict. I just want to do the fucking job, and you're making it so that I can't do the job. And so we shake hands. He's fine after that, never an issue again. But I remember just thinking, like, that's all HR can really do. They can get you in a room together, they can push and prod you and try and get you to see it a certain way. But ultimately, it's on the other person. Like, I was lucky in that moment that that guy was willing to be like, hey, you know what? I was in the wrong and we move on, right? And it sounds like in your situation as well, the other guy was like, yeah, all right, fine. Well, cool. But that's what you're relying on. Like HR has done nothing. They've just pushed it more so it's like, okay, this is a work thing now, so you need to resolve this, otherwise we're going to have an issue. So there's an element of threat there, I suppose. You know,
Yeah, I believe we have a union, so so HR would have to call people from the union to get involved in the whatever is going on there. Then the union would have a talk with either like one of the with whoever employees are involved in that particular situation and see if they can come to a resolution if HR themselves can't do anything.
I was going to say that them having to come in would represent a huge failure on HR's part. Like, because if it's got to the union level, it's like now you're risking like litigation. Like you're risking it escalating and becoming like a serious issue. But I don't know, man. I mean, I've seen good HR in some companies, and then I've seen really bad HR in some companies. And in the bad HR in companies tends to create an atmosphere where you feel like you can't say or do anything, and nothing's ever going to change. You
I
know,
mean, our HR is like all right. We still have job protection, but our HR isn't necessarily the worst.
how did they secure job protection exactly? Is that like the
Yeah,
what
with the
how are you?
union, like
Oh,
if
okay, right, okay. So you're part of a union, is what you're saying,
yeah,
right? Okay, okay. Do you have to pay for that?
they took it out of our paycheck. I think it's the first 10 paychecks, I believe. Yeah, I think it might be the first 10 paychecks you pay a certain amount. They take a certain amount out of those first paychecks, and then after that, everything's all paid. I forget what exactly the fee is, but I know they take it out of some of your first paychecks.
How effective would you say unions are in America in general?
But that I don't have enough knowledge or experience, or I guess witnessing, I guess you could say, to really know or have an answer for that.
Well, how long you been in your current job now?
I've only been there since November.
Oh wow, really knew that. Damn. Do you think
I
it's a
was
job?
doing
Do you think it's a job you'll stay in?
For the time being, yeah. It's not the worst job in the world, but it's not paradise or anything.
I know what you mean.
It's like
Like,
I can get by with it, but I wouldn't want to do this forever.
yeah, I feel that. I say that a lot to people that I work with that I see, and I think the sadness that I sometimes have is like I'm still there, and I feel like nothing's changing. There's no progress. And like there is progress. There's little things, but sometimes it can feel like you're trapped, and you're like, well, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. You know, but I don't know. Perspective is big too. You know, if it means that you're paying the bills, you're able to see your family, do the things you need to do, then it's okay, I suppose. But
But yeah, some progress is better than none, right?
100%, hundred
Even if
percent
it's
agree with
only
that.
like one, I guess it's 1 centimeter of a step or something, like 0.1%. That's something. It's better than 0% completely or taking no steps at all.
Completely agree. So this is interesting. You had, I want to say if see if I'm saying this correctly, strabismus surgery. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had that in April 2023. It
Right.
was like the recovery was not a pleasant experience, but I think that surgery was definitely worth it. That surgery changed my life for the better because now I can see a lot better now than I could before my surgery. One of my eyes would cross so far inward. Like we tried so many solutions over the past 10 years at that point, but from what we were told, from what I was told, there was nothing else that could have ever been done other than surgery to fix the condition I had. So I ended up getting the surgery, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life because now I can drive, I can work properly, and with the help of a specific type of lens called prism, I can pretty much see single now. I was seeing very spread out double most of my life.
Wow. You see how dangerous that would be. Yeah. And
If
so,
I never got that surgery, that would have been like my life would have pivoted terribly. I
so
wouldn't be able to do anything.
yeah, if you hadn't have gotten it, then it would have worsened to the point where what blindness or just not being able to like make clear images perceptible.
Well, I mean, I'm always gonna have blurry vision, but it's
Okay.
just that that's just that I would have never been able to just about see single. Like I would always have terrible coordination, which would mean I would have never had any jobs. I wouldn't even have a driver's license.
Wow. So there you go. If you are having eye problems, guys, go out and get the surgery you need. Don't sleep on it. It could change your life.
But
Incredible
also
stuff.
with the acting, I probably wouldn't have been on screen because now like my eye would cross so terribly, but now it's barely noticeable.
I know what you mean about that. I've not shared this. So this will be the first time I've shared this. So I'm also an actor. I've been acting since 2019, and obviously, in right now, I'm focusing more on voice acting because you don't have to see the person. Um, let's just say I have a unique look. I mean, I have long hair. Hair can be cut, but I do have long hair. I'm a 31-year-old man with white. I've had white streaks in my hair since the age of 24. It is what it is. Again, hair can be dyed, but I don't know. I feel like the elements are sometimes against me. Like recently, I started getting white eyelashes naturally. Didn't even know that was a thing. Apparently, it is. Um, and I look at it and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like my chances of being on screen going forward are slimming. Not impossible, but just slimming. And I'll take whatever I can get. Who knows? Who knows what the future holds? But
Yeah.
it is a very superficial industry, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. What's your experience of it so far? What's been acting been like for you?
Well, I haven't been in many roles, but I've been in most of my roles have been extras. I believe my first ever role was in January last year. I'm not even sure I'm allowed to disclose this role yet,
Did you sign
but
an NDA?
it was just like a background role.
Did you
But
sign
then,
an Did you sign an NDA?
yeah,
Then don't talk about it. Legally, do not talk about it.
but yeah, that's all I'm
Move
gonna
on.
say about that. But
Cool.
then the
Yeah, move
next
on.
role I had, I mentioned this earlier. I played the fan of this competitive eater turned YouTuber
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah,
a
yeah.
restaurant. But then I've had some. Then I only had one other role with lines. The rest of them have just been extras. But that's about it.
What are you learning from acting? Like what through those experiences? What's been the lesson, if you like?
I mean, I get to see how everything goes down. I'm I try to be at least as social as I can with some of the other cast members.
Mm-hmm.
See, I observe how they act. I observe how they are on set. See if I can take something away from that as well.
Has it ruined anything for you?
Has it ruined anything?
Yeah, because I remember when I first started going on TV shows and film sets and stuff, it ruined quite a few things for me.
It hasn't done anything yet,
That's good.
but only time will tell what happens.
By that I mean like partly the illusion, the allure of certain things, but also like how things are edited. Like television is particularly notorious for this. Like for instance, I remember being on a like a what was it, a comedy show, and I remember they told a really funny joke in there that they weren't going to include, and they said as much. And they also told a really bad joke that no one laughed at, got nothing. But in the final edit, they took that laugh from the funny joke and put it to the shit joke, and that's what you heard on screen. I was devastated. I was like, "What is this?" And then of course I realized, well, this is what TV is. But I'm like, ah, manufactured crap.
But yeah, also imagine having to keep the exact same energy for multiple takes in a row.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, it was interesting as well because this was a half an hour show, but they recorded for like an hour and a half. And then they do all the fucking outtakes at the end, which was hilarious. Just seeing the host do like 10 different versions of like, you know, and now let's go to this next thing, you know, or wasn't that fantastic? Like just shit like that. And it's like, Jesus, this is pain. It's painful. And you have to stay there. And like, they get you to like, they tell you when to clap at things, which is really odd. Or sometimes they have like these hosts that come on in between the show being filmed. I guess as like a warm up, but they're not very good. Um, I don't know what I don't know what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to just get the crowd going, but it's just I don't know. It's just shit. It's just like pointless. Yeah, but
Yeah, I don't know if they still do that message at the beginning or I guess it's sometimes at the end that says this was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
yeah.
I
In
don't know if they
America, they do
still
that. I think.
I don't know if they still do that or not, but I know they would put that message somewhere in the show.
Mm. Isn't
I
that a lie
guess
then? Because it's not live. Oh, unless it means like no, like that it was live at the time, I suppose. But still, it's not live. It's recorded and edited. That's a weird one. That's yeah. I feel like that's one of those weird technicality things. You know, like it was live to that audience that saw it, but it's not live to you at home, and you're seeing a heavily manipulated, heavily produced bit of television. Sorry, this sounds like very like I'm just trying shit on TV. You know, I think a lot of good work is done, but I've also heard a lot of bad things and concerning things, and also just like depressing things as well about how things are actually produced. Like, for example, you know this, uh, Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, right?
Yeah.
The thing that broke me about that was learning that supposedly what happens is every restaurant you see in those shows, they everyone that comes in is not actually a customer. They're all extras, all of them. And so on that like first night, second night where they were observing, they're like, "Oh wow, this is terrible. Look at how terrible their restaurant is." That's all extras. So they're literally being paid to make reactions to things, good or bad. There might be some authenticity there. I couldn't say for sure, but like they're all paid actors. I can tell you that much. And then so it kind of destroys the authenticity of the show. And yes, I get it. It's television. It's supposed to be manufactured, but like it was being sold as reality TV, and that's the biggest crock of shit ever. Like, there's nothing real about any reality TV. It's all scripted. It's all mass produced. Like, the only true reality TV were the very, very early shows where they were still trying to figure out the concept. You know,
Yeah, there might be some gems here and there, but it sounds like most of them are just complete garbage.
they are. They are. Like, I don't know who was the first to do it. Maybe the Kardashians. Maybe we had a few shows here. So we had like The Only Way is Essex and Geordie Shore. That was a few here. Maybe Jersey Shore in America was the first to do it. Because I feel like after that, it kind of then you saw like 1,500 different reality shows, and we still have them here. And people, here's what's really weird, and we can bring it to content now as well. I'll see what you think about this. So you get scripted storylines for real people. So you go on these reality shows and you see real people. That's really who they are, but you're seeing a manufactured version of this person. That's not specifically them or how they react to things in real life. That's just how they've been told to act on camera or what they've agreed to or whatever. Maybe they've even come up with the scenarios and the script themselves, but none of it's real. So if you see like if you watch the Kardashians, for example, and you see Kim is getting upset about something and like, oh, why did she say that? Like they've been told to say all that shit. They've been told to create this like fake scenario, fake uproar, etc. Now, you take that, which people still watch reality TV. One of the most popular shows in the UK, arguably the most popular show, is a show called Love Island, which is a bunch of people in their mid 20s essentially just having sex on an island somewhere and having arguments. That's the most popular show. Depressing dystopian world we live in right now. That's it.
More like a boring dystopia, yeah.
Well, kind of, yeah. I'm like, what's interesting about this is that's it. That's all people. Fucking hell. Anyway, on social media, on TikTok and other apps, you're starting to see scripted storylines for content creators, right?
Because it's starting to become such a huge industry. It's becoming
Yeah.
essentially industrialized.
Oh my god, I hate it so much because they're like, and the thing is, they're not good at it. At least on TV, you could argue there's an element of doubt. Like, if someone is a good enough actor or artiste or whatever, they could make you halfway believe that what they're saying is real. But these content creators, and I say this as a fellow content creator, they're shit. They don't know what they're doing, and that's the thing. They've been famous for years, successful for years, but their scripted storylines are just bollocks, and everyone can see through it. But yet people still watch it. Why do people watch it? Why do you think that is?
For the dopamine?
But how? But when you know it's fake crap, like that, why still watch it?
Yeah, that I probably something to do with people's attention spans nowadays. That's why that's why pretty much half of content on the internet nowadays is just essentially AI generated slop or just people who aren't very good at what they do.
I can't stand
Or
the
maybe a bit of
stuff.
both. Some of them may not be good at what they do, so they have to use AI to be good at what they do.
That's a shame. Yeah. Like I like people using it to assist with things. I think it can be used in quite a clever way sometimes. But yeah, just outright just using it in place of making anything original. I mean, it sucks. And yeah, there's so many of these YouTuber channels now. I see them all the time where they've got some AI generated voice or a voice clone or something. And you can immediately tell because it lacks like human emotion, and they don't say words correctly, and like, yeah, I know that they're always training the voice models and that one day they'll be perfect, but I don't know. You can always kind of tell that they lack warmth to their tone. And so it's just, and they're explaining videos as well. Like it'll be like a GTA clips thing where it's like, oh, hey, did you know in this episode of this mission in GTA 5 that this specific interaction with these two characters happened and da 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 da, but this is what it really means. Oh, wow, subscribe. It's like,
I remember this old Minecraft YouTuber Cop. He's
oh
starting.
my God,
He made an
yes.
entire AI thing. He basically turned his entire channel into AI. I guess for the monetary aspect. I believe that's
Wow.
what it is, but from what I've heard, it's not exactly the greatest model, but I've seen some clips from it that suggest maybe it's not the worst thing that could happen, but still, like, there's still not that human emotion, that charisma, that
Yeah,
energy that's not there.
I know exactly what you mean. Every single video clip I've seen of an AI generated model of someone, it what it seems to be is like their eyes don't move much. As you say, they're lacking the emotion that's there. Like, okay, Quebble Cop, for example, was always quite a giggly guy. He's quite like funny, quirky. You know, that's him. But his AI clone model is not going to capture any of that because it can't capture like a personality. You know, it can copy the cadence of your voice, so it would have picked up on like his accent and you know how he says certain words and stuff like that, and maybe even to an extent how he moves, his mannerisms and stuff. But it won't be able to show his emotions and his personality, and
Yeah,
people want to see that.
AI is getting better at tone of voice as well. Like there
Mm,
may be a little bit of like exclamation in certain prompts that you give an AI. But so yeah, it is improving, but it's still not like it's not like at that point yet.
no, and I don't understand this fascination with it. Like I get that it's useful, but I just don't want it. I don't think anyone really truthfully wants just purely AI generated content because it's human beings were all about connection, connecting with other human beings. Like part of the beauty of content creation is you're seeing the world through the eyes of a different person, you know?
Yeah. Have
And
you ever heard
that's
of the
cool.
dead internet theory?
Yeah. But remind me, please.
Well, yeah, it's essentially where pretty much most everything on the internet nowadays is generated by robots created by the social media platforms that that content is posted on. That's essentially what the dead internet theory is. And the more I see some of the comments, especially on YouTube Shorts, the more I start to believe in the dead internet theory. Sometimes on Facebook too, I'll see some shit like that. So that looks like AI generated slop. You don't know if it is or isn't though.
I think a big giveaway is like how when there's a lack of effort put into something. Like I see it a lot on Facebook with either paid ads or certain type of adverts. It's really lazy. Like just you know, not much thoughts gone into it. In general, not just AI, but like just advertising in general these days is just shit. Yeah, every now and again you'll get a gem, but most of it's just like very just slop put together, and then you know they're just like, oh, just watch this, buy this.
Unfortunately, most of the time it works.
Yeah, but I think the buyer is more intelligent now, so we all skip ads, we all ignore ads, right? Um, does it work on us? I don't know. I mean, I think it depends on the person and how much they're willing to put time and effort into research. I do think certain things work if okay, I'll give you a really good example, right? I've never gotten window repairs. But if I was going to get window repairs, I would get it from Autogas Repairs. Whatever it's called in the States, I don't know. It's called something else. That's like an old jingle that's been around since like the 2000s, and it's catchy, but it worked because we all remember it, and that'll be the first thing you think of when you think of window repairs. You might choose to go off and get quotes once you've seen their prices. Who knows? And maybe you'll get somewhere else, but that'll be the first thing you think of. And that's a good form of advertising. That's worryingly good because it's gotten stuck in your head. Now, a lot of this poor advertising, I mean, like for example, Coca Cola, the reason why they spend so much money every year marketing wise is not to kind of remind you that Coke exists, but more to kind of just plant that in your brain somewhere so that at some point you want to get one, you know?
I remember not too long ago they made an ad entirely with AI.
Oh, the Christmas one.
I think that might have been about that, yeah. But from
Yeah.
what I heard, the reception wasn't exactly great on that ad.
They had a Christmas one here and everyone was in uproar because like I don't know if it's the same in the States, but here in the UK, like classically on television, even though television's dead, but classically it was like, oh, if you see the Coca-Cola truck in the Christmas advert, then Christmas has truly begun. Like that was the little thing. And it was sweet, you know, like, yeah, it's a Coca-Cola, but Santa Claus in all red with a Coca-Cola, it just kind of worked. I don't know. Um, and then yeah, you see this advert all these years later, and it's AI produced. To me, that just feels like laziness. You know, first
It
time
is,
I gone.
yeah, it's very unfortunate. Kind of also reminds me of that. You know that SAG after strike that happened was
Mm,
a couple years ago. I think the reason why it happened was because the actors and the writers and everyone else in the entertainment industry, they were all worried that AI would be taking their jobs
which it
because
is.
the big dogs on top, 10% for the big guy, they've started to turn more to AI, and so some seems like some of the writers and the actors have started losing some of their jobs, and so SAG after went on strike.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's
and
still going on or when it ended, but it was a
the strike ended, but I don't know how much good it really did because you see it all the time. I see AI cloning all the time, like AI cloning adverts all the time. So much content is produced without humans now. Um, with Hollywood, it's interesting. It seems like they're not really willing to take many risks on new and up and coming actors. They tend to just kind of like go with the same people. Like they'd rather de-age an old actor and use them in modern content than they would take a chance on a new up and comer. Um, which don't get me wrong, like if it's like, oh, you're de-aging Harrison Ford so he can do indie again, like great, right? We all love that. But when it's like to take a role that could have been given to a younger actor, could have made a younger actor, it's a shame. People wonder why do we see the same actors in the same things all the time? Like, I don't know, Timothy Chalamet or Zendaya or whoever. And it's like, well, the reason is because the industry is not willing to take chances on new and up and coming actors. You know, every now and again they'll make someone, and then you'll just see them in everything. And it's all now the industry is it's crazy. Like who was it? It was Maya Hawkins. Maya Hawke, is it? Ethan Hawke's Maya Hawke. Ethan Hawke's daughter. She was saying, I think it was either her or someone else, I can't remember, but someone was saying that like these days your social media following is a factor in whether or not directors will take you on.
yeah. That's how big social media has become. That's how industrialized it's pretty much been set.
But it's bollocks, man. You and I both know that like it doesn't count for shit. Like we've both got over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Right, like I've got nearly 9,000 on TikTok, but I less than 5%, probably less than that, probably like 1-2% of those people actually are engaged and checking out what we do. The rest either subscribed and forgot, don't watch, don't care, or just whatever, check in every now and again, which is fine. But that's the reality of it. you know? So social media doesn't mean anything unless you're like Ronaldo or something where, like everything you do is like a huge event. It really doesn't count for much. And I know that they're trying to look at the influence thing and like how many people we can reach, what can we sell to these people, etc. But um, just because you follow someone doesn't mean you're going to like react to what they're selling, you know? I mean, like, for example, I've got music out right now. I've got 4 songs and I've got an album coming out soon. There's loads of people that follow me that check out what I do, and they have no idea that I even make music, let alone that I've released anything. And I promote every single day. I do what I can every single day. There's people that don't know I do a podcast. I've been doing it for 5 years, 300 episodes. People don't know. That's the reality of it.
I was gonna say something about. Oh yeah, I was gonna get back to the AI thing. There are some very funny purposes for AI, like making world leaders sing, like modern day. I guess not exactly the most modern day, but like making Adolf Hitler sing "Better Off Alone" or something. Like that's one of the few funny purposes that AI has. That's one of
Yeah.
that's one time where I'm like, yeah, okay. And AI is cool in some cases.
Oh yeah. If we're talking jokes, it's absolutely hilarious. Do you know what? It is fun for experiments with music. Like I really liked hearing like old Oasis songs being sung by like the other brother. That was cool. Or like singing like hearing like how Kurt Cobain might have sung a certain track, like if he did Everlong, just for argument's sake. Um, or one really, really cool one I've seen is with the band Metallica. There's people online who've cloned the voice and the guitar sound of certain eras of Metallica, and then they show you what like some of their newer music might sound like with those tones and that voice. Like they even managed to do it with a live one, which is argued as Metallica's best gig of all time, Seattle 1989. They managed to clone that, and that's a live performance. But if you got enough material, you can make it work. Incredible, yeah, that's cool. But one thing I will say is that it sometimes lacks it. If you take like the ones where it's like Freddie Mercury singing certain songs that he didn't sing, it completely goes against the way that Freddie would have done it. You know, like it gets some of the highs right, but like the way he breathed, the way he would have approached it, etc., completely off. And there's no way you can change that either. It's just, yeah, I don't know, but it's fun. I agree. I agree with you on that. Right, couple of final quick fire questions for you. What has content creation taught you about life?
About life, said you got to really give your all into certain things, which is ironic because the beginning of this episode. It's ironic that I'm even saying that.
You've done very well. Nearly 1 hour and 20 minutes, man. See,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I appreciate you. Thank you, buddy. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Um, I got to really dig into my brain wrinkles.
I'm staying in that. Brain wrinkles.
It's something my grandmother told me, I think, about a year or two ago. You'd be surprised at how many idiots there are in this world.
Ain't that the truth? Yep.
But yeah, so you know what? I've also heard they say it's difficult to argue with a genius, but it's impossible to argue with an idiot.
1,000% true. Because their ignorance will always shadow everything you say. Like they just will never listen. So you
It's
are,
better to, if they're not willing to listen, it's better to just keep your mouth shut and stop pursuing than to keep shoving it down their throat.
yeah. Because one thing I've learned about advice over the years is that you have to be ready to hear it. Like people will give you advice all the time, unsolicited or maybe they mean well, maybe they're trying to be, I don't know, condescending, maybe they're being annoying, whatever. People will give you advice all of the time. And if you ask for it, people will give it too. But whether or not you're ready to hear it, whether or not it will resonate, that's a totally different thing. I've had things where people have told me advice and then like years later it resonated. I've had other times when, I laughed at receiving said advice and then a week later I'm doing it and I'm like, holy shit, they were right. I don't know. I think your mind and your heart has to be open to it. Simple as that. What's the biggest life lesson you've learned so far?
The biggest life lesson. It's more one of the biggest life lessons I've learned is to just be humble and don't take too much pride in everything you do. You should look into your flaws, see what you can do to improve. Yeah, you'll never be perfect, but you can strive to be better every day.
Absolutely. That's a good note to end it on as well. Strive to be better every single day. So final question for you. Do you have any upcoming projects or final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I believe I mentioned this earlier, but I am working on potentially a longer album. I don't know what the theme's going to be or how much time I'm going to have to make it, but it's definitely something I want to pursue at some point. And I am trying to get back into the content creation space. But like I said, I got work and family, so I haven't really had much time to do that. And I'm also trying to grow in my faith as well. Yeah, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to get better at that every day. I might eventually get back into voice acting if I end up getting lucky enough to have one day where I'm home alone and I can be as loud as I want, I guess. But yeah, I'm striving to make some time for some of the creative stuff along with work, family, faith, all that stuff.
Absolutely, man. Keep at it. I wish you the very best of luck. And I hope that you do continue to make content and do continue to pursue these creative things. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being on the show.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me, Christian.
Absolute pleasure. And to the listeners of the Christian Reeve podcast, hope you enjoyed this episode. And I will see you in the next one.